Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Sorry it's a little bit late, but I've just got back from the zoo and I'm recording it straight after on Sunday, the day you're going to see it. So today what we're going to do, we're going to look at two cameras and compare the two of them. We've got my old trusty 1DX Mark II right here, the brick itself, and then we've got the Canon R3. Now I'm going to address the sort of elephant in the room, as it were. Why aren't I comparing it to a 1DX Mark III, which is the equivalent cost and age of camera? Well, mainly I haven't got one, and they're actually pretty hard to get hold of at the moment, and they're very expensive when they do pop up. They're actually more expensive than R3s are secondhand, and I refuse to pay that. So unless one of you has a 1DX Mark III they are willing to send to me, let me use it for a month, test it, review it, and do everything I need to do with it like that, then I'm going to be comparing it to my old trusty 1DX Mark II. Now we've got out of the way, let's go through both the cameras together. Let's look through the specs of the cameras together on the desk. Then we're going to look at comparisons between photos taken with the two cameras, and then I'm going to tell you my overall thoughts on both. So let's get into the specs right now. So here we have both cameras here side by side, 1DX Mark II, R3, if it wasn't that obvious. Let's go through some of the main points though. So the R3, 30 frames per second on mirrorless mode obviously, and 16 frames per second on the 1DX Mark II. Weight 1015 grams, 1340 grams. Both can obviously shoot JPEG and RAW. Both have minimum ISOs. Actually, it's a minimum ISO of 50 on the 1DX Mark II and 100 on the R3. The 1DX Mark II takes CFast cards in the back as well as compact flash, while the R3 that takes CFast, CF Express, and SD cards. I'm using the faster SD cards at the moment. In here at the moment I have no problems at all. I do sometimes run out of buffer, but it's not the end of the world. I shouldn't be holding that trigger down as long as I do. LCD screen wise, obviously this has got the flashy tilt LCD screen on here, touch screen and everything, while the 1DX has a normal non-touch screen display on the back. Year of release, obviously this is 2016, this is 2021. It's 3 years old now. It's incredible to actually think that. Sensor wise, if you spin them back over, you won't be able to see unless I turn it on the R3, but you've got 20 megapixels on the 1DX Mark II, and you've got 24 megapixels on the R3 on there. Maximum ISO, both super high at 102,400. They also both have very nice viewfinders, but obviously the main difference between the two is obviously this is a digital, that's an analog, and you have got the eye tracking features inside this massive display here. Button placement themselves on the back isn't too dissimilar. So you've still got your video switch over here, you've got AF-ON, you've got your touch move of the focus points on this side of the R3. Got all your normal points here. Your Q button moves over to give way to info button, but you still have the top hats in the same locations. On-off is the same place. You just lose the card open slot from the DSLR because it's on the side. And you also gain obviously the wheel on the R3, which you don't have on here. You only get the singular wheel on the side, which you still obviously get on there too. But physically between the two, they are very similar in their design, physical shape, everything. It's just the R3 is that slightly bit smaller and a slightly bit lighter, and has a little bit more megapixels, as the obviously backlit full frame sensor, which makes it just so nice and so sharp with the imagery. Absolutely incredible. Obviously as well, you've got all the tracking, eye tracking, everything inside the R3, which you have got some very basic eye tracking on the, if you shoot in live mode, so you shoot via the screen. So this one's run out of battery unfortunately, so I can't tell you at the moment. Oh, might have some on there. But if you go on to, it's not going to let me because I've got off battery unfortunately. But if you go on live mode, you have got eye tracking features. If you follow the screen only, you can't look through the viewfinder, so it can become like a very basic mirrorless camera. But I wouldn't recommend that personally. I'd shoot through the viewfinder and use that. Battery wise, they both actually take the same battery, which is actually really useful for me, because if I run out of charge, it's got the same battery, so I don't have to worry anything like that. Obviously you have to run, for me, you have to run the adapter on the R3 to go with the EF mount lenses. I'm really glad they decided to allow you to use those EF lenses with the RF mount. Using that, nice and simple, doesn't slow things down too much, but you will notice some slowing of the FPS when you're using a converted lens on there. But they are the two cameras, spec wise, done for you there. What we're going to do now is look at some imagery between the two cameras, and then I'll go through an overview of my thoughts on both cameras. Okay, so the first image here we're going to look at is we go R3, then 1DX Mark II, R3, etc, until we get to the end. So this is of one of the leopards here, Cultus Zeus Ezra, the female in the light. This is the R3 200 to 400mm lens without the converter on. Nice and sharp, the eye tracking got nice in the eye. This is through glass at about a 45-degree angle as well. So super impressive that it managed to track her and keep her eyes nice and sharp. Nice background, blurring here, so it draws your focus straight to her head. So a very nice photo here from the R3. Next image here is of the other leopard at Cultus Zoo. This is Crispin the male, and again coming towards us. Obviously no eye tracking being a DSLR, but I managed to get the focus point directly on his eye, focused instantly, tracked him towards me, and this is with 300mm lens, a slight darker environment, but absolutely superb image, nice and sharp. Again, nice blurred background, nice colours, which is super important as well, and just overall a very good image. So here we have a cheetah take on the R3 here, walking past. This is the female, I believe, on here. Eye tracking though, perfectly got it there in focus. This is with the R3, but with the ×2 converter on it. So a nice sharp image, eyes nicely in focus, as I say. Background really nice colours in the cheetah itself. A nice bokeh, as you can see with some of the flowers in the background, nice bokeh balls there, which sort of make the image. Next image here is taken again, so on the 1DX Mark II. Again, cheetah, same enclosure, same kind of environments. There's a little bit more rain before this photo, which is why all the greens are a little bit more green, because it's just been raining rather than the photo before where it hadn't rained for a few weeks, which is why everything's a little bit more dull. But the animal itself, nicely in focus. This is with the 500mm, shooting at f4. So we've got the face nicely in focus, again tracking with the actual physical focal point rather than the eye tracking. We've got it nicely in focus, background nicely blurred out, and just the colours looking very, very nice. Next image here is on the R3, so this is a tiger, one of the female tigers at Colchester walking towards me. Eye tracking on, it's just giving a little stare to my right hand side. I'm not sure who was stood there, but obviously gauged the tiger's interest, which meant the eyes nicely wide, very focused on there. Managed to get a nice shot here. This is the 300mm 2.8, shot at 2.8, which is why past the front legs and that sort of zone is starting to blur out towards the back, just because shooting at that lower aperture. But background again, nice colours. Well, not all tigers are bright orange. This is actually what colour she is. She's a little bit of a muted orange colour, so just like she is in person. Nice colours there for that, and the greens, they're looking very nice and green in the background. The final image you're going to look at here is taken on the 1DX Mark II. This is a hyena walking around its enclosure looking for some food. This is taken the same day as that cheetah photo that I showed you just now on the 1DX Mark II, so a little bit more rain's happened, which is why everything's a bit greener than the photos from the R3, as we've had a bit more of a hotter, droughttish kind of environment when I've taken those R3 photos. But again, managed to get the eye nicely in focus. This is again on the 300mm at 2.8, so you can see the back legs are already starting to be a little bit out of focus compared to the front, and even the nose is slightly out of focus if you zoom right in here. But a very sharp, very usable image taken on some older kit, and just shows you that the older stuff still is brilliant, will still perform exactly how you want it to. So that's all the specs and the imagery on both of these cameras. So both taken in similar situations as physically possible. Obviously you can't always get the same imagery from it, but my thoughts on both these cameras. Now this is my fourth mirrorless camera, if you include the R10 which I'm filming from right now, and it's by far my favourite. I didn't really get on with the R7. I thought it was a little bit sluggish and didn't work as well as I'd hoped it with my EF lenses. The R6 was a load better, but still didn't give me the image quality and everything I kind of wanted. It's still very, very good. It's just it wasn't as good as my 1DX Mark II. Now this is the first camera that I've used in the mirrorless range from Canon that does compete very, very closely to my 1DX Mark II. There are still some very niche situations that you go between that feel the 1DX Mark II would be slightly better, but those are few and very far between. Now the niche situations, I find that this is better if you're shooting into a dark space with a long lens and you've got a very small object you want to focus on. I find that the DSLR is ever so slightly better than the mirrorless. The mirror sometimes still gets a little bit confused. I'm not sure if that's just because I'm using EF lenses. I haven't got any RF lenses to test it with, but it does get confused and will usually tag over the foliage rather than the object itself. With the DSLR, obviously you've only got a point and shoot feature, you've not got eye tracking or anything like that going, so you are only focusing in that center point. Now yes, you have center point on the mirrorless as well, but the center point doesn't seem as quite as accurate as the center point is on a DSLR. So that's why in certain situations this is better, but this is a lot lighter than the 1DX Mark II. That's the first big notable difference. It's a lot faster than the 1DX Mark II. The viewfinder is so nice to have that electronic viewfinder. The AF, everything is just way better. Now, costing wise, an excellent version of this secondhand is around 1600 UK pounds. Secondhand, these are going for about 3.5 to 4. So I would hope this was better than this. Now the true test will be when I do finally get my hands on a 1DX Mark III, which I do still want to buy at some point because that is the ultimate Canon DSLR and that's as good as it ever got. But at this time, as I say, they're very hard to get hold of. I'm not sure if people are holding on to them still, waiting for the R1 to appear, which will be later on this year when they become really available looking online, unless you're a pro. But at some point when they get traded in, their prices should hopefully come down quite a lot when people get into that R1, and I will pick one up because one, it will complete my collection. I've got every single 1D now apart from the 1DX Mark III and the 1DC, and the 1DC, they're still trending at about £1,000, so a little bit more than I want to pay for one of those as well at the moment. But back to these two, this is a truly incredible camera for how light it is, for how much is built into it. It's just absolutely incredible and does walk all over here. The imagery I can get from this is absolutely amazing. The eye tracking, the eye focusing, everything, even with the older EF lenses, is incredible. At some point I will start buying into RF lenses too. I'm waiting for the RF 7200 f2.8 Mark II to come out, and then I will probably try and purchase a Mark 1 just because the price of those will come down, and then I will be able to finally test what a mirrorless camera is like with an RF lens rather than using my EF 7200 f2.8. So if you like this video, please subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to wait for those sort of later on videos with the RF mount lenses, when I hopefully do get my hands on a few, please subscribe, click that bell icon, and that will let you know when there's been a new video. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you again in the next one. See you later. Goodbye.